What would it be like to play Mario in real life? Because it's fun to play the game of Mario, but I built it in real life to find out if it's fun to actually be Mario. But how could you build the entire world of Mario and fit it in a small garage? And especially since this is my biggest project yet. So I made a 3-step plan to build playable Mario in real life, starting with step 1, movement. So I want to take inspiration from the game because Mario stays in the exact same place and just jumps up and down while the entire world moves past him. In a similar way, I'll treat this wall like the 2D view of Mario, keeping myself moving in place while the stuff moves past me. So first, we gotta fix this wall because it's reminding me too much of myself. Boring and white. I hung up blue bed sheets with push pins and then connected the 2 sheets with fabric tape. I can also add this green sheet down to kind of emulate the grass that's in most Mario games. Now I need to be able to walk in place while the world moves around me just like Mario does. And you're probably thinking I'm gonna use a treadmill for this. And you'd be exactly right. I bought a used one from someone on Facebook's marketplace.
So I definitely need to get rid of this because this completely destroys the realism.
The more I look at it, I feel like the treadmill needs a little something, you know? Wow, that looks so much cooler. Oh, that's sick. It works great. Now it's time for step 2. The blocks. So we need blocks that'll move above my head that I can jump and hit for coins and power-ups. So I bought some cube-shaped boxes from the internet. So these blocks are looking a little naked right now. So old me would have spent days hand painting all of these, but new me, I'm a genius. So I emailed a printing shop to print out like 60 of these images and I'll simply glue them to each side of the box. So they just emailed me back about how much it'll cost. Let's open it up. It's gonna cost $1,300. Bruh. So after spray painting every single one of the blocks, either yellow or brown, I really need to stop wearing white shoes when I spray paint. I measured and taped out the designs of the brick blocks so that I could paint over them.
It took me an entire hour just to add tape.
After adding tape to all the brick blocks, I taped the question mark blocks, and then I was able to paint the designs onto the bricks and then the question blocks. Finally finished all of the blocks. So now for the really fun part, I have to make a conveyor system to bring all of the blocks around my head in a circle. And the reason I want it in a loop is so that it seems like there's 10 times more blocks than there really are, because they're just gonna keep coming around in a circle. And the thing that makes this so difficult is that most of my past projects have been robots that are mostly just 3D printed. So this is my first time ever trying to construct something this massive, and I don't really know what I'm doing. But previously, I did measure out my garage, and it turns out I'm a natural with the measuring tape. I lied. So using those measurements, I can create a 3D model of my garage and then design a pulley system that should be able to carry the blocks around. Then I bought all the wood I needed, regretted never buying a truck, and then bought a saw from some lad on Facebook's marketplace. And there's only one way to clean up a perfect line of sawdust like this, and it's to sweep it up, of course. I mean, what else would I be doing, weirdo? Immediately after cleaning, I realized I forgot to cut 45-degree angles into a bunch of the wood. I think the sawdust is getting to me, and now I can build the pillars that'll hold up the pulley system. Per usual, my wood tower is too short, so I'm adding this piece of wood here. And then I constructed the final 3 pillars. Finally, I connected a board to the top of each of the pillars. Now that I've finished, we can make pulleys and then add them onto each one of these. You'll notice there's no pulley on this one. That's because I need a way for the rope to actually move around the whole system, so we're gonna add a powered pulley to this one. To make a powered pulley, I'd need an extremely powerful motor, battery, something called a motor controller, and all that gets very expensive. But I decided to activate the little genius in me, so I bought a cheap drill from Walmart, and it has literally everything I need for like a third of the price. But I needed a way to control the drill with a computer for later in the project. So did I use the immense knowledge I gained from 1/8 of an engineering degree? You're a funny one. I zip tied a motor to the drill, so when the motor spins, it presses the trigger. Then I 3D printed and attached a large pulley to the drill using a bolt. And then I secured the drill onto the last pillar. Then I lifted all the pillars, and then I realized something kind of terrible. But before I can explain, I need to test something. So I'm wanting to incorporate running into this Mario game, so I kind of want to see what it's like to run at max speed on this thing, especially since it doesn't even have handlebars or something to hold on to. But also, I want to talk about Cooper, who sponsored this segment. Click the link in the comments or description below, or use this QR code to download now. So just like how this project is taking years off my life, Cooper will take money off your purchase. Like they'll save you money. Because when you're checking out, Cooper automatically tests and applies the best coupons for you. So no more searching the internet or copying and pasting random codes like a nerd. And the average success rate for coupons on other sites is only 15 to 30%, but Cooper's is 50%. So let's say I want to buy this Mario game here. Instead of having to open like 50 different tabs to compare prices. Cooper does it for me. So now I can see where the lowest price is. It also shows the price trend charts so that I can see how the prices changed throughout the past. But another great feature is the cashback, which allows you to get money back on your purchases, which you can withdraw straight to your bank or to your PayPal account. But the most unique feature is that if Cooper fails to find you a coupon 3 times in a row, they'll actually give you money to compensate you. And with these various benefits, Cooper saves users $600 on average. And there's no subscription or spending minimum. You can simply install it, add it to your browser, and start saving money on any of their 200,000 covered merchants. To download it, click the link in the comments or the description, or use this QR code. I don't know if I want to incorporate running. So, what was it that I realized before? Well, I'm an idiot. Well, I guess I already knew that, but I realized the way I designed this was kind of stupid. For some reason, I thought it was best to have each pulley connected to its own piece of wood, and then to connect those pieces of wood together, there's just a much simpler way of making this whole thing. Also, this project is going to be set up for months, so I was hoping that in between filming, I could still park my car in this garage, but the original design just doesn't give me enough room for that. So I shreked the old design and busted out a brand new one. Went back to the Home Depot store for more wood, made it chopped like me, then connected a long boy to 2 of the pillars. Then I wanted to lift it up, but it was pretty difficult and didn't seem like a one-man job. Sadly, I have no friends though, so I sat there contemplating my life decisions until I realized I forgot to even add the pulleys. So after doing that, I realized friends are for nerds and lifted that son all by myself, and it was super easy and I definitely didn't almost die. Then I connected the 2 other pillars together, added a normal pulley and a powered pulley to it, and lifted that sucker up. Then added a bunch more beams as supports. Well, we finished the frame. Woo, look at that. And it could even perfectly fit my car. You can be honest, guys. This has the structural integrity of a butt, doesn't it? Finally, I bought a rope, connected it to all the pulleys, cut it and tied it off, and then powered on the drill, and it was working. But I'm a little worried about the chunky knot because I could already feel the whole system shake a bit when the knot went around the pulleys, and the rope wasn't even tight yet. So I want to connect the ends seamlessly. But this rope is terrible for that, so I turned to the internet. Apparently, I can combine 2 ropes in a way that is completely seamless. The only thing is I need a completely different rope than what I have and a very special tool. Walmart. All you have to do is melt the end so it doesn't split, slide it into one of these thingies, push that into the rope, then take the other end and push that into the rope as well. And the friction holds it together. Electo rope builder? Then I placed the rope onto the pulleys, but when I went to power the drill, the rope was slipping. And so obviously I added hot glue onto the pulley to add some grip. And that actually seemed to work. Now that we have completed the pulley system, we can start attaching these blocks to the rope. How are we gonna do that? Well, guys, I have a plan.
Using these, I don't know why I just did that.
So these are little loop things I 3D printed, and I can install them into the corners of the blocks, and then I can hook strings through the loops and attach those strings to the rope. Huh. This is definitely a problem. Turns out the box is a little fatter than I thought, and it pulls the whole rope down. So I wanted to see what happens when I add a little tension to the rope. And it did lift up the block, but I noticed these 2 pillars were getting pulled inward, and I'm kind of worried they're gonna fall down. So back to Home Depot. Then I made another long boy, connected it to the pillars to keep them from getting pulled in on each other, and then added these pulleys that add a bunch of tension. It was working great, so I added another block to the rope, and it was still working great. So I added a bunch more blocks, and it was no longer working great. So not only was it sagging again, when the block went around the pulleys, the strings would get caught, and the whole rope would fall off of the pulleys. So I decided a new design was in order. But as I always say, why design it yourself when you can steal it? So taking the design from chairlifts on ski resorts, I printed out a bunch of these mini pulleys, took down the long boy, added a vertical board here, and then installed the mini pulleys onto that board. And finally, I reinstalled the long boy so that the pulleys all lined up. Then I cut the fishing line holding the blocks onto the rope, 3D printed out these little guys that I can connect to the block with the string, and then install it into the rope. And now it can easily pass over the mini pulleys and the bigger pulleys without anything getting hit or caught. I've attached a couple blocks to the rope, so I'm gonna power it on and see if they stay on or fall off and get shreked. It's working! Yes! Woo! It was working great, and the blocks had no problem going around the corner, and there was no sagging at all with the line of mini pulleys. So I decided to stop being stupid, and I bought an actual motor controller and wired it into the drill so I could more precisely control the speed with my computer.
As soon as I plug this to my laptop, the Arduino will power on and the block should start slowly moving around.
Whoa! Once I got the speed right, I added more blocks to the rope and it was still working perfectly. So I added the green cloth and treadmill back and decided to test the whole thing out.
Guys, I think this is a problem.
I forgot I was basically an NBA player when it comes to height and athleticism, so I took down the rope, the long boy with the pulleys, removed the pulleys and vertical board, and then cut holes directly into the long boy, installed the pulleys, and screwed it back onto the system, but much higher this time.
Here it comes, here it comes. Come on. Woo! So now that the block system is finally working, we can add bottoms to these blocks, as well as electronics, so that I can actually hit them and they do something.
First, I have to cut these flaps off the bottom of one of the mystery blocks. Then cut one of the walls off another block. That way I could give the original box something I've personally always wanted, a nice flat bottom. Then I could take these 3D printed little button boys and glue them to the corners of the bottom piece. Then add metal plates to them, which I can solder wires to, and now it acts as a button. And if you don't know what a button is, I'm sorry, there's no hope for you. And then I can add 3 more of them to the bottom, add a battery, this mini computer, which I can wire the buttons to, and then I can attach the top of the block to the bottom using hot glue, of course.
So as soon as I press this, it should send a signal directly to this one, and then this one will print out something on the computer. Let's go!
I also placed a switch back here so I can turn this block on and off. Then I took the receiver, connected an MP3 player to it, and connected that to a speaker. So now whenever I press the bottom, it should play a sound. Also, you're gonna notice there's no original Mario sounds in this video because I'm terrified of Nintendo copyright striking me. So that coin sound is just very similar to the Mario coin sound. Please don't copyright strike me, Nintendo. I just want to make a cool project. Then I replaced one of the blocks on the rope with the new button block.
All right, here comes the block. That is awesome! Now we just gotta install electronics into every single one of these blocks.
So I made a bunch more of the button blocks for both the question mark and the brick blocks, and then started placing all of the power blocks onto the rope. So I've been trying to make the classic like triple block thingy that's in a ton of the Mario games. The main problem is that it can't really go around the corners with the pulleys because the blocks need to twist as they go around, and when they twist, they run into each other and the whole thing starts to break. So I tried putting a gap in between 2 of the blocks and it was slightly better, but I'm gonna try something else. Something that might work or might end in complete disaster. I'm basically just gonna attach the blocks permanently together, and instead of having 6 different rope attachments, it's just gonna have 2. So that way everything doesn't need to twist. The whole thing just twists together.
Come on.
Bruh. The holder fully snapped, and I think it's because, like I said before, the whole thing twists as it goes around the corner. And since it's connected with 2 strings, it doesn't have enough wiggle room to fully twist, and it just snaps the plastic instead. So I replaced it with a single string in the middle so that it can freely twist. And now it should go around no problem. I'm dead inside. So I've realized that as it goes around the corner, the distance between the holders shrinks, pulling them inwards. And if there's not enough give, they just break. And so I set it up in a way where the rope holder could freely move on one side. And it actually worked. I couldn't believe it.
Dude! Yes! We did it! We finally did it! This part took so long. We finally completed step 2. Time to move on to step 3, adding in the enemies. Initially, I was just gonna 3D print the goombas and stuff. Then I realized if I wanna be able to jump on the enemies, 3D prints are probably not the best option. I bought something. Plushies!
These are great because I can squish them and they won't break and drive sharp plastic shards straight into my feet. Also, you'll notice these, which are bullet bills. And in Mario, they fly through the air at you pretty slowly, but you still have to dodge them. And I couldn't figure out how to make them fly slowly in real life until I remembered what a wise old man once told me: use what you've got. Yeah, he was kind of a weird guy, actually. So I simply tied the bullet bills to the rope that's already moving. Easy peasy, baby. But the goombas are trickier because I'd like to add electronics to them so they have the ability to walk towards me, but I'd risk breaking them when I hit or jump on them. So I'm just gonna make it look like they're walking towards me by building a conveyor that brings them onto my treadmill. So I'm going back to Home Depot, guys. The way a conveyor is designed is there's the frame, the motor that makes the belt go around 2 rollers. Now, I stupidly bought dowels to use as rollers, but I can't possibly freehand a perfectly centered hole, which means they're super wobbly and can mess up the whole conveyor. So back to Home Depot. If this is getting old for you guys, just imagine how I feel. I cut the PVC to size, 3D printed out these inserts with a hole in the center, and then attached them to the frame using a bolt and a bearing to reduce the friction. Next, I cut some flat boys, spaced them out, and screwed them into the frame to create something for the belt to rest on, which, I'm glad you asked, is a garden weed blocker thing. I have no clue what it is, but it's long, flat, and black. I cut it to length around the rollers and taped the ends together using some super strong tape. And to power this conveyor belt, of course I'm using another drill from Walmart. I left a bolt sticking out of one of the rollers and could tighten the drill onto it. And it worked great. And then I stuck some stubs on the conveyor, removed this piece from the treadmill, and placed the conveyor right behind the treadmill.
Let's set some goombas up on this thing.
And when I tested it with the goombas, it was sick. Except it wasn't, because they were just getting piled up behind the treadmill. So we gotta build another conveyor, baby. And now I can place the second conveyor right in front of the treadmill, and it'll keep all the goombas moving along. And when I tested it, it was sick. Except it wasn't.
Guys, I just realized another problem. If I start out with the goombas on the track, they're just gonna instantly get used up, right? And if I made it so that this conveyor moved slowly, I feel like that would be so much lamer to see the goombas coming at you. It's better when it's unpredictable, you know? So we need a way of getting the goombas onto this conveyor belt so that they can keep going on.
I was thinking I could make a grabber thing that picks up and places the goombas onto the belt, but that sounds insanely difficult for no reason when I could just snap another conveyor into existence, which was way easier than building it. I don't know why I didn't think of that earlier. And could use that one to intermittently place the goombas onto the conveyor. And it was sick. Except, nah, just kidding. Finally, I painted the 2 visible conveyors green just like the treadmill. I love a good Shrek green. And with that,
We finally finished the playable Mario game. Woo! I can't believe it, guys. What an incredible day it is. But there's just something not quite right. Yahoo! It's me, Mario! Do I look as cool as I feel?
So to answer the question, what is it like to play Mario in real life? Well, it's actually super easy. Like, I don't know why that fool Mario acts like this is difficult. I mean, I think he's just being dramatic or something. In reality, guys, I feel like I can't actually answer that question yet because there's something I need to be honest about.
I lied to you all. This project isn't even close to being finished. We have so much to add. The Goombas don't even do anything right now. There's no health. The bullet bills don't do anything. Plus, we don't even have a Bowser to fight at the end. There's so much more to add to make this into a complete Mario game. So that's why in my next video, we're gonna be finishing this course and turning it into an actual complete realistic Mario game.
So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that video, and leave a comment if there's something you want me to add to this game.